What's going on, guys? Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're watching this from. Today we're having an early start to the morning. It is currently 7:36 in the morning, and I went to sleep pretty late last night. Actually, we had a lot we did yesterday with Spocom, with working out, with just a bunch of stuff. But I know what the title of this video is. If you click the video, you want to know how to maintain your Mitsubishi Evo, know why so many Evos blow up. There's actually so many Evos that I've met more Evo owners that have broken their car, probably like more than any other platform. That's also because people send it pretty hard in the platform as well. You know, launching the car, racing the car, roll racing, time attack, you name it. I mean, the car was built to, you know, go fast and take a beating, and they're really strong cars, but it is a machine. They will break if you don't maintain them, and just like any other car, it will break down over time. In this video, I'm going to help you guys kind of maintain the car, what's cheap insurance from just exploding the car, you know, motor, drivetrain, differential, transmission, stuff like that. But before we get into all that, we're going to get some coffee because I'm freaking exhausted. And then we also have to make a run to Walmart to get some oil. Also, I don't know about you guys. I used to never like waking up early, but I have to for work. I wake up at 5 every day. Waking up early and just seeing like nature and the sunshine is just like a great start to the day, guys. Like seriously, if you guys never wake up early, I suggest at least trying it out like once a week or something. Just get some stuff done. How's it going?
Did you like it the last time with the vanilla bean or not that?
Not really, no. Yeah, no, it was not good. I still drank it, but you know, definitely noticed a difference. So the backstory to that is they ran out of vanilla syrup and they had to use vanilla bean, and they kind of told me, they're like, yo, this doesn't taste very good. I'm like, whatever, bro, like I'll drink it, you know, like I need coffee. And then they weren't kidding, it doesn't taste that good. So that's why that dude, I come to this one all the time, it's local. That's why he was like, what'd you think? Alrighty, boys, we made it. Hopefully they have the oil we need, because sometimes they don't. Success, boys, they have it, and we're getting a new oil filter wrench. We'll go over this when we get home right now. Also, if you guys didn't know, Walmart has like the cheapest full synthetic Mobil 1. Well, Mobil 1 is full synthetic, but cheapest Mobil 1, because look, 36 bucks, and that was with our 10% sales tax and freaking getting a new oil filter wrench. That's not bad. God, this area is so gorgeous, guys. It's like anyone that bought a house in Southern California like 20 years ago is so lucky, because these houses literally used to be like $200,000-300,000. Now all of them are starting at like 700. So crazy. Comment down below where you're from and how much houses are going for, because I'm curious to hear. I think real estate's super interesting, and it's just crazy how much the economy's fluctuating. Everything's got to go down because the prices of everything went up, and it's not like everybody got a raise. So, but mark my words, guys, on this channel you're gonna see a sick garage. We're gonna do the overland build on the Monty. Obviously we're gonna build the Evo, and really soon I want to do a Honda build at some point, but this is all with time because it's a lot of money and your boy's broke. Alrighty, guys, after much finagling, we got everything in the garage. I got my oil filter, got my new oil filter wrench. In case the oil you're wondering we went with is a Mobil 1 1040. If you guys don't know, Mobil 1 is literally the OEM oil that comes in Evos 8, 9, or 10. So 530 is typically OE oil, but this car is on E85, and E85 does produce water that mixes into the oil. So water and oil is going to ruin the viscosity, meaning the consistency of the oil and the lubrication factors. So we go thicker 1040 just to kind of offset that a little bit. Also, another thing that people don't understand, and this kind of ties in with the title of the video, is if your car's on ethanol or any type of alcohol-based fuel, you're gonna have to change your oil a lot more often. You can't go, you know, 5,000 miles or 6,000 miles changing your oil. Some people probably do it and might have okay luck if they're not beating on the car and they just cruise around and stuff, but if your car is a true performance car and you're like hammering the car, you're gonna have to change the oil a lot sooner. Like there's no way, even on the new Mark V Supras, because I work for Toyota, literally like if you're beating on the car, the oil change light or the maintenance light will come on sooner, and you'll literally see the maintenance interval shrink because of the way you're driving the car. The car's smart and it knows that if you're really pushing the car to the limit, that the oil's gonna break down much faster than if you were just cruising around like a normal car. So without further ado, let's dive into this oil change. I thought I was recording it, but I wasn't. But I jacked up the car from like the front cross member, which honestly, once this car's lowered, that's gonna be a bad jacking point. But got 2 jack stands on each side. Guys, use jack stands, don't be dumb. One of my actually old neighbors, this is really sad, he was working on his truck and he wasn't using jack stands, and actually the truck ended up falling on top of him and killing his driveway. I didn't see the body or anything, I didn't see anything, but that actually, like, true story happened. So if you guys are watching this and you don't use jack stands, make sure to use them. It's definitely time, guys. I don't know how well you guys will be able to see that, but it's not too black or anything, but not the cleanest thing in the world either. There we go, leaky boy. Also, fun fact, you guys probably already knew this, but the Evo 8, 9, and 10 all share the same oil filter, which I always thought was really weird because the 8 and 9 have a different engine than the 10. Also really like that Mitsubishi always has these like pre-lubricated, if you guys can tell. Instead of having to like add oil to it or anything, it's already lubed up, ready to go. In case you guys are wondering too, I use all 5 quarts. I know it's like 4.6 or 4.7 or something like that, but literally every person I've ever met just fills it up with 5 and it'll be alright. Alright, the jack stands are off. Engine's full of oil. Time to build some oil pressure, start it up, let it run for like 60 seconds. Check for any leaks. I don't like how that crush washer went on. I don't know. That crush washer went on super weird. I didn't like it. No leaks, which is good. If you guys have been watching my channel for a long time, you guys will know our famous place, my old college. And I'll tell you what, guys, when school's in session, the parking lot does not look like this. Let me tell you, this is like, you gotta circle around for half an hour sometimes to find some freaking parking. You college kids know how it is. There's been a lot of lollygagging this video, a lot of errands, a lot of everything. We're literally at the brink of running out of daylight, as you guys can tell. But if you click this video is to help you out for people that are Mitsubishi Evo owners, or maybe you're gonna be an Evo owner, or maybe you just like Evos and you're just curious why so many of them blow up. And this is gonna be raw, unedited, like just straight to the point. And I want to make this video because it's stuff that's not really talked about, like unless you're really into Evos and talk to people that build them for a living, or you've owned multiple like myself, or just like have been around the platform, you wouldn't know. And it's applicable to other platforms too, but this is pretty like common sense for Evo stuff if you want your Evo to live a long time, whether it's stock block, modified, you know, built motor, things like that. So rule number one, or tip number one, changing your oil if your car's tuned on different fuels. Kind of like we talked about earlier, a lot of people have this misconception that you can just do your oil changes every 5,000, 6,000 miles, and if you're like really hammering on the car, like I'm talking like track days, or like you're running E85, you're running E90, you're running C85, or any kind of ethanol based fuel with alcohol in it, you're gonna want to change the oil pretty quickly. I mean, honestly, I would say like 1,500 miles to be safe, because it's cheaper to do an oil change than replace the engine. That's just me. I mean, you can go 2,000 or maybe even 2,500 miles, but you know, again, like if there's a lot of alcohol mixing in the oil, obviously the more contaminants that mix with the oil, the worse the viscosity or the consistency of the oil is going to be. So my advice would be just change the freaking oil and save your motor. Tip number two, and this is something that a lot of people for some reason still do to this day, which is kind of crazy, but fifth gear in Evos is like the kaboom gear. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, it's so much load. If you watch videos of guys doing pulls in Evos, the reason why, you know, like it'll run through the gears all quick, and then fifth gear, it's kind of like, bah, like it's bogging, you know, and it's usually a tall gear because it's meant to be a cruising gear, and flooring it in fifth gear is usually the like kaboom gear, especially if you're like car full of homies. I don't know if I said that right. Flooring it with a bunch of people in the car, fifth gear, tons of load, going uphill, you might chuck a rod or something bad will happen. If you make it, then you got one strong engine. And another thing while on the topic of load is don't floor it at a low RPM. Like, let's say you're like in third gear cruising around town and you're at like 1,500 RPM and you just foot to the floor. Don't let the RPMs build at all. You know, as far as like tuned cars, or even like, I guess stock cars, it doesn't really matter too much, but if you're like tuned, especially with the big turbo, or actually no, if you're tuned with a smaller turbo where the torque ramps in super aggressively, it's way easier to blow up your car than with a big turbo. A lot of people have this misconception of a big turbo is going to blow up my car, break my car. Horsepower actually typically doesn't really break these cars, not like torque does. You know, depending on how the torque curve actually comes in, meaning what RPM it comes in and how the graph looks. Like Hondas, for example, the reason why they can make so much horsepower is because they don't really make a lot of torque, number one. Number two is they actually rev out. Like, if you look at a graph on like a built Honda or anything, you know, they're revving to 8,000 RPM, 9,000 RPM. Same thing with Evos, because they're 2 liters in their natural form. And you know, the car's literally revving out to 8 grand or 9 grand, you know, when you do springs and cams and the supporting modification. And when you're on a tuned car, especially if you have a like super torque happy turbo, you don't want to punch it at a low RPM, because you're not giving the rods a chance for the torque to basically ramp in at a progressive rate. You're just going to slap it all at once, and when all the torque comes in at a low RPM all at once, especially if it's tuned aggressively, and you punch it at 1,500 RPM in like a higher gear, again, you might meet your internals at a lot sooner rate than you'd probably hope to find. And then tip number 3, and I feel like this is like pretty obvious or something that you guys could have guessed, but tuning, honestly, finding a good tuner that knows the platform well, that knows your goals well, and has just been around to kind of see the outcome of multiple different setups, different turbos, you know, different graphs, things like that. I personally am a big fan of finding someone that specializes in just like a single platform. Some people go to tuners that tune all types of things, and not saying that they can't, you know, but I would try to find someone who's tuned like a lot of whatever car you're trying to get tuned, not just Evos, but tuning, you know, there are a lot of, I would say there's more bad tuners for Evos than there are good tuners. Even for like the Subaru community, I feel like there's better selection of Subaru tuners, like at least in SoCal, than there is for Evo tuners. I'm not saying that there isn't good tuners for Evos in SoCal, but what I'm saying is there's a lot of people who blow these cars up, who break them, who just tune too aggressively for what the car is, or you know, there's a reason why like there's cars on the East Coast, you know, like that are making 1,400 horsepower that go, you know, 8s and 7s, and you know, like Rafe at RRT just broke the Evo 8 and 9 record yet again. You know, went 7.5 at 195 miles an hour in the quarter mile. And yes, he pulls the engine out after each track event, from what I've heard. I don't know him personally, but That's to be expected with like a almost 2,000 horsepower drag car. But what I'm saying is, find someone that is good with the platform. Don't just go to someone because they're cheap. Because honestly, guys, there's like a old and what's the triangle? You know, like in most mechanic shops, there's like you can have good, cheap, and fast, but you can't have all three. You got to choose two or three. So don't go for the cheapest option. Honestly, spend the extra money, buy parts once, buy a tune once. You know what I mean? Like gather up all your parts, get tuned once, and just be selective with your tuning process, because honestly it can make or break your car, quite literally. So a lot of people think that just because it's a tuner car and it's tuning friendly that you can kind of do whatever with it and it's gonna just take it, which is not true at all. It's a machine, it's mechanical. If you give it the wrong formula, it's not gonna last. And then tip number 4, which this I feel like is pretty self-explanatory, but maintenance, especially for these Evos, Evo 8s and 9s, or actually Evos 1 through 9 I should say, our timing belt. Evo 10s are a little different, their timing chain. 08 and 09 had a single link design, as far as I know, for the timing chain that was known as stretch with heat. Like you heat cycle it a bunch of times, and when you make power they stretch. So there actually was a newer design for like the 2010-11 era, and that timing chain was better. But for Evo 8s and 9s, as far as I'm concerned, OEM timing belts are the only way to go. I know there's people that run Gates, there's people that run the blue belt, there's people that run the purple HKS, whatever. If your car works and your goal is not to make like crazy horsepower, but guys, I'm not even kidding, and I know this is going to start World War VII in the comments. There are like the fastest Evos literally in the world all run OEM timing belts, and there's a reason why. And as far as I know, the Evo 9 belt, which is Kevlar, is like the belt of choice for most people. Like my buddy Sam is running an Evo 9 Kevlar belt on his Evo 8, but apparently that's kind of a no-no from what we both have heard, but he's never had an issue with it as far as like an actual belt fitment issue, but people I've read online have. But what I'm saying is go OEM where you can, like water pumps go OEM, timing belts go OEM. Obviously with the timing chain for the Evo 10s, I don't think you have any other alternative but going OEM. But maintenance is key for these cars, guys. Even like changing your spark plugs, you know, if your car's making like high horsepower, you want to pull the plugs out, inspect them. You know, you don't want a node to get so hot to the point where it drops into a cylinder and has a party in there and destroys your engine. Same thing with stock blocks that make 600-700 horsepower. You know, you want to inspect your spark plugs. You know, making sure your injectors aren't getting clogged, running the fuel system out. These are all things that break these cars pretty often. You know, like people have an injector break or stop spraying, and then, you know, it runs on 3 cylinders and you know, burn out one of the cylinders. You know, so maintenance is a huge key in keeping your Evo reliable. And a lot of people get really annoyed, but honestly guys, it's such a cheap price to pay. Like, it's just changing your spark plugs, it's just changing oil, and it's not a freaking Subaru, it's an inline 4. It takes like freaking 10-15 minutes to change your spark plugs. A lot of you guys, even if you aren't mechanics, like I'm not a mechanic, and I did my spark plugs on this car. I went with OE. That's a whole different conversation of your build and matching up the correct spark plugs. But maintenance is key for these guys. Do your oil changes. Make sure your timing components are good, your belts, your hoses, things like that. OEM moving parts where you can, like water pumps, timing belts, timing chains, making sure that your maintenance is all up to date. Another thing too, when we're on the topic of maintenance, is the drivetrain. So honestly, Evo engines are pretty strong for the most part, and their drivetrain is actually pretty strong too, but it's way easier to break the drivetrain when they're stock, because, and I'm not talking about a stock car, I'm just saying stock drivetrain, because people launch the absolute living crap out of these cars. And especially if you go to like a drag strip, for example, where the track is prepped, it's sticky, it's going to be really aggressive when you launch the car, even with like a twin disc or something. You know, a higher horsepower, you know, you might not get it might not break immediately, but over time with a non-built drivetrain, it's a lot easier to break. And so something that Evo owners that at least know their stuff, they'll change their fluids. You know, they'll do red line, they'll do like the red line cocktail for the transmission, which is like a MT90 and 1 quart of MTL, I believe. Making sure you're doing shockproof gear oil for like the T-case and the rear diff. And again, it's way cheaper to change the fluids on the differential than replace it. So all the cheap insurance maintenance that you can do for these cars, especially if you plan on beating on the car super hard, do it. Because honestly, sourcing a differential is pretty hard. Sourcing a non-ACDT case that's an LSD, not an open diff like in the 03 Evo 8, very difficult. And trust me, when you get these cars and if you start breaking parts and realizing, oh my god, a T-case is like $1,500 and it has 100,000 miles, like what if I buy this $1,500 T-case and have to rebuild it right away? That's what happens when you don't do the maintenance and you don't do your research on what stuff costs to fix when you break it or blow it up. I think that's pretty much it as far as like what you need to know as far as like owning an Evo and making sure that the motor's reliable, that the drivetrain's reliable. I feel like most people I know break the drivetrain before they blow up the motor, unless they're just like on some super crazy aggressive tune or like launched the car 50 times and street raced it and things like that. Eventually the car will break, you know, nothing's indestructible. Literally there's no car that will handle the abuse forever. Like for example, like Top Fuel dragsters guys, like there's a reason why they take those cars out. There's teams with like seriously some of the smartest and best like technicians, tuners, everything, you know, cars that are just ridiculous. They go like 300 miles in a quarter mile and they're still having to bring multiple transmissions or clutches or engines and, you know, like sets of internals like pistons and rods and bearings. And so what I'm getting at, guys, is it may sound like a lot, but it really isn't a lot. These cars are very robust, they're very strong, they were very well engineered even for the time now, and they can be very reliable. Just, you know, the car will take care of you if you take care of it, but if you neglect the car and kick the crap out of it, don't be crying when it breaks, because pretty soon we'll have like a full maintenance video soon with my buddy Sam over at Sam Spec, my buddy's Evo shop, and we'll do like some drivetrain swapping, we'll do some drivetrain fluids. We'll do some other maintenance on this, and I'll get him talking about it just because he's very, very well adversed with the 4G platform. But guys, these cars are really good. I know that some people really trash talk them that have gotten them in Mickey Mouse and blown them up. Other people who have really gotten to experience the Evo platform and take care of it and enjoy it in its true potential know that it's just an amazing machine, and honestly, they're only going to get more expensive. And I'm making this video for you guys that either own an Evo currently or you're looking to get an Evo, so that way you don't have a bad experience of, one, having downtime or Evo not working, number two, to hopefully save some money, put some money back in your wallet where it can be avoided of not blowing it up, and just to be able to enjoy. You know, the Mitsubishi community is very small. Unfortunately, there's not really a lot of support either. Mitsubishi makes a majority of their money from electronics, airplane parts, accessories, you name it, cell phones. And literally, I think their annual income is like maybe less than 5% from automotive stuff, which is why they're leaving cars slowly, which is why crossovers and electrics are pretty much the only thing they make. And they're gonna probably never have a sports car again because there's no reason. And if you guys didn't know, and this is off topic, but the Evo was never supposed to really be a public car. It just had a lot of popularity in Group B, and when Colin McRae and Tommy Mäkinen, like when rally racing was really booming, you know, they released the Evo 1. I think it was like less than 1,000 cars in Japan only, and they sold out all of them the first day the car was listed. So Mitsubishi kept releasing the generations of the car basically for the fans and also the hype of rally racing. It was never meant to be a public platform, which is why in the US, you know, we got the Evo 8 when Subaru brought, you know, the WRX in 2001 or whatever, the bug eye came. And moral of the story, guys, is that the cars are very special. Do your maintenance, take care of the cars, and you'll have a freaking blast. Seriously, it's a freaking rally car that's street legal. It's got airbags and AC and stuff, and just freaking take care of the car. If ever someone important from Mount Sac ever sees these videos, Mount Sac, let me host a car meet here, guys. Let's get it popping. Let's fill up this whole freaking lot. 500 cars. Where are you guys watching this video from? Come on, pull up. New York, Tennessee, Florida, the whole thing. But unfortunately, guys, it's from the end of today's video. Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If there's something that you guys can add or that you have seen that has worked for you and you're a Mitsubishi Evo owner, please comment down below. Add to the knowledge. You know, use this comment and use this video as a way to share some of your knowledge as well. You know, this is just basic stuff. Again, this isn't anything new or earth-changing or earth-breaking, whatever. And I want this hopefully to help anyone who either has an Evo or is looking to get an Evo, and just hopefully save some money and enjoy the project. Unfortunately, guys, this is where to end today's video. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you guys are new, be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Be sure to leave a comment, help the algorithm out. It'll allow us to do lots of cool things with cars, not only with this one, but hopefully many more to come. We got some cool videos coming up. that are non-Evo related that I'm excited to share with you guys. Let's just say one of them will include a V10 that I think makes like 1400 horsepower, which will be my first forced induction V10 experience, but I don't want to give too much away. Anyway, guys, hope you guys all have a great day, great week whenever you're watching this, and I will see you guys all in the next video. Peace out.